What if the biggest secrets of the universe weren't hiding in some particle accelerator, but were actually buried deep inside declassified CIA files? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the absolute strangest theories ever proposed about the nature of reality itself. All right, let's get into it. So what you're looking at right here is a translated paper, once tucked away by the CIA. It's from a man named Inomata Shuji, who was the chairman of the Japan Psychotronics Institute. And, in these pages, he wasn't just suggesting a small change. He was proposing a complete rewrite of physics, one that tries to unify matter, energy, and, get this, consciousness. So where does he even start? Well, Inomata's whole argument begins with a really bold claim that modern science has basically hit a wall. And the reason for that? It's completely ignored the one thing that we all experience every single second of our lives. And this right here is the question at the very heart of psychotronics. The theory dares to ask, what if consciousness isn't just some ghost in the machine? What if it's a fundamental force of nature, something you could actually measure, just like gravity or electricity? Okay, so how on earth do you even begin to map out an idea like that? Inomata came up with a kind of blueprint, a model that he believed connects absolutely everything. He called it the psychotronic triangle. And here it is, his core idea, all laid out. You've got M for matter and E for energy. We're all familiar with those from physics class, right? But then, Inomata adds this brand new, totally crucial corner to the whole cosmic relationship, Q, which stands for consciousness. So what exactly is this Q? Inomata calls it the panpsychist consciousness quantity. Now, this isn't about, feelings or thoughts. He's proposing that consciousness is a fundamental physical property, like a virtual charge that's just baked into the very fabric of matter itself. And then he gives it this incredibly simple equation. I mean, we all know E equals mc squared. Inomata just comes along and bolts on equals kq. It's that simple. In his model, matter, energy, and consciousness are all completely interchangeable. They're just different faces of the same fundamental stuff.
So, if this triangle is for real, it doesn't just add a new chapter to the physics textbooks. Oh no, it forces us to completely rewrite the fundamental rules of the game. Let's take a look at just how deep these changes would actually go.
Let's start with gravity. We think of it as mass-bending spacetime, right? But in this psychotronic universe, gravity isn't a side effect of mass. It's an expression of the consciousness that's inside that mass, a totally different cause for the exact same effect we all feel. It gets even wilder when you look at thermodynamics. The second law is, it's one of the most solid rules in all of physics. Disorder or entropy always goes up. But Inomata's theory says, hold on. It claims consciousness, through something he calls negative virtual energy, can actually reduce entropy. It can literally create order out of chaos. And then there's time itself. In Einstein's relativity, time's flow is relative, sure, but it's predictable. In Inomata, though, he proposes a time catalyst function, which suggests that consciousness itself can break, speed up, or even slow down the flow of time. So we're not just passengers along for the ride in the universe, we're actually the pilots. I know what you're probably thinking right now. How, right? How could consciousness possibly do all of this? Well, the theory relies on a few really strange, hidden mechanics that Inomata saw as the secret engine driving the whole universe. So the whole theory really hinges on three core mechanics. First up is virtual energy, which is a type of energy he links directly to consciousness. Then you have negative norms. This is a reinterpretation of some pretty complex physics that would allow for bizarre things like gravity that pushes instead of pulls. And finally, the vacuum hypothesis, which basically claims that empty space isn't empty at all. And this idea of the vacuum is absolutely key. In standard physics, you've got Dirac, who pictured a vacuum filled with negative energy. But Inomata takes that idea and kind of blends it with Eastern philosophy. He describes the vacuum as this dynamic sea of chi, or spirit, made of virtual energies. In his view, it's not an empty void. It's a source, a wellspring of potential. So why? Why go through all this trouble to build such a complex, totally radical theory? Well, it's because Inomata believed it could finally provide a scientific framework for all those phenomena that modern science just, dismisses out of hand. His theory offers explanations for things like spoon bending. He'd argue that's just mass being converted directly into consciousness. Levitation? That's just repulsive gravity, which is made possible by those negative norms. All of these seemingly impossible events are suddenly reframed with a potential, yeah, a strange one, but a scientific explanation nonetheless. And the entire goal is really captured perfectly in this one symbol from the Japan Psychotronics Institute. You can see how it unites C for consciousness, M for matter, E for energy, and even I for information. It's basically a visual mission statement for a completely new kind of science. So, after all that, what are we supposed to make of this? Is psychotronics a forgotten key to unlocking the universe? A theory so far ahead of its time that it just got filed away and forgotten? Or is it just a fascinating but ultimately flawed scientific dead end? The declassified documents present us with this incredible theory, but they leave the final answer for us to figure out.